Again, thank you guys for joining us. We have a great company here giving their investor update to all of y'all. So really excited to hear from them. If you have any questions during the session, we're going to get to those at the end, but you can put them in our Q&A box and we'll be able to see them. And like I said, answer them at the end. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Adam from Trace, and he's going to get things started. So Adam, take it away.
Thanks, Shane. First, I want to welcome you all to the first Trace Investor Update presented live. Hopefully you can see my screen now. So yeah, I saw the attendance list, and it's truly an honor to have each and every one of you here in connection with Trace Orthopedics. So on the agenda is a company progress report, next steps, and our funding plan, which includes new incentives for investors. You'll hear from the company principals, plus a couple additional members of the team for Trace. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So to start with a quick refresher on the company. So we have three company principals: myself, CEO and co-founder, Adam Greenspan. My co-founder is Dr. Bill Morrison, and he is our medical director. And then Paul Janeski is our third board member, and he's our acting board chair. Trace Orthopedics is commercializing novel solutions for tendon attachment with an early focus on repairing partial tears in an outpatient setting. Our first product is a percutaneous tendon fastener system that's seen in this rendering here on the right. It's from a video animation that I'll play shortly for you. Our Series A investment round is still active. It's led by the angel investor group Keiretsu Forum, specifically the chapter out of the Mid-Atlantic region. And as of today, we have 650,000 still open in the round. All right, so I'm going to actually bring in the video, and hopefully that is coming through here. And I'll just play this real quick so you can see the device.
Our device repairs tendon tears through a needle without the visit to the operating room. Here, the tendon is torn and pulled away from the bone. The surgeon inserts the needle containing the device. The device is composed of two parts: a coil which grabs the tissue, and an anchor which implants the tendon into the bone. The entire procedure is accomplished with local anesthetic and mild sedation, and can be performed in the doctor's office or in an imaging suite in about 20 minutes.
Thank you, Bill's voice. And you'll hear from Bill soon. So yeah, we've come a long way from prototypes that Dr. Morrison fashioned in his garage originally. So we took implants that we developed and tested with our consulting engineer, Ben Arcand, over to an engineering contractor firm, Nagel MedTech. We started by establishing product specifications that, according to the design inputs that were provided by Dr. Morrison. So Bill, are you on the line here?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe you could expand a little bit on some of the work that we've been doing with Nagel MedTech.
Sure. Well, we've been undergoing product development and testing the strength and pull-out strength, and making minor alterations in design, especially of the coil, the cutting tip, the self-drilling, self-tapping threads. And we're actually incorporating a pre-drill option if people have concern about harder cortex to go through. And we're going to have two lengths. And in terms of the implant, one size fits all. It's about 1 centimeter in length and 2.5 millimeters wide. So it fits through a 10-gauge needle. And you mentioned in the video that we might use conscious sedation, but actually, in most cases, probably, especially at the hip, local anesthetic should be just fine for these applications. And through testing, which Adam's going to talk about, we've been finding that the strength of the system is so high that it really is very similar to traditional suture anchors. And as you know, traditional suture anchors take 15, 20 steps to place arthroscopically. So we're getting a lot of interest from surgeons who would like to use this in their as part of an adjunct to their arthroscopic surgeries in order to make their procedure faster in certain applications. So I'll give it back to Adam here.
Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, we made tremendous progress with this project so far. So we brought the fastener implant development program under design control, and we, as Bill just mentioned, we developed a companion delivery system for the minimally invasive percutaneous approach. We optimized the designs we had multiple iterations, and we produced units for engineering testing, for cadaver testing, and for pilot animal testing. And so our latest order is for an updated design and for user feedback and pivotal animal studies. And yeah, so specifically what we did was we re-engineered the broach at the screw head driver interface so that it is retained within the needle in the original packaging before implementation. And yes, we also did produce sample device kit packaging trays as well, and that's what's pictured here. So and then yeah, moving along to testing that's been conducted. So yeah, we've done 3 main types of testing in the in the last 18 months. So we evaluated the implant characteristics and the introducer design features in early cadaver labs, and it passed the design review. And then and we've also done preliminary mechanical testing according to standards for torque and fatigue. And then we did we did a cadaver lab at UPenn where some faculty and fellows got to try out the Trace system. And then we did preliminary testing in sheep shoulders at Colorado State. And yeah, this is what Bill was just alluding to before, where so yeah, and this X-ray, and that actually all 3 of these are images here are from this pilot animal study. There's one of the sheep, and here's our device showing how small our profile is. It's about 1/3 of the size of the comparison device off the shelf that we tested against. And so, and then in this X-ray, you can see that we are achieving some compression of the spring as intended. It's not fully compressed. I think we still need to work on the technique. There's a little bit of additional distance for implantation here, but you know, we're very encouraged by the performance. And then we did some quantitative pull-out testing as well, and the Trace implants withstood nearly 700 pounds force in the pull-out strength test model in the lab at Colorado State. And the Trace implants were tolerated by the animal subjects, and they actually showed signs of less scar tissue than what the technicians normally experience using that animal model. So
hey Adam, quick question, if you don't mind me interrupting. How does that pull force resistance compare to traditional suture anchors? As I recall, it's significantly better, is it not?
Well, no, yeah, it is higher. That from what the technicians told us, that it's probably twice the amount of force that they usually see at failure with suture anchors.
All right, I guess that's where I was going with the question.
Yeah.
And just
anything else to add on this, Bill?
Yeah, just to mention, you know, in terms of why that is. We have some theories on why this is a strong construct. And one theory is that a suture anchor is a suture. I mean, it's literally a thread. And it could be a nylon thread, could be a fabric thread, but it's a thread attached to anchor, usually absorbable or metal. And there are a lot of weak points. The knot is a weak point, and actually the more knots you make, the weaker it is. And that's been based on engineering studies. The knot to keyhole connection is a weak point, and that can pull off or break. Also, if you think about having a suture, even if you're doing a mattress type configuration of the suture and anchor with multiple anchors, it's kind of like carrying a heavy bag that has a very thin strap, and you feel it very heavy in your hand because it's force per area. So those suture anchors give a lot of force per area where the suture is attaching to the tendon. And that can cause necrosis of the tendon and pull out, as we see on MRI all the time with post-op shoulders. So the idea is that the coil distributes the force more evenly in a graded fashion from the center where the screw is to the peripheral aspect. And we're going to do force studies on this as well, some engineering studies. The other advantage I think we have over suture anchors is that suture anchors are pre-drilled and they act like a drywall screw, whereas our screws are self-drilling and self-tapping, which doesn't allow for any distance between the implant and the bone. So we have a lot of advantages engineering-wise, mechanically, and physiologically over a suture anchor.
All right, don't go anywhere, Bill. We're moving along to the clinical advisors and early adopters that we've activated a network. And so we formed a medical advisory board initially with 2 orthopedic surgeons joining us early on. And yeah, Bill, do you want to talk about who they are, your connections, and then also you can also tell us about the sites where that you have lined up for us too.
Sure. Yeah, Josh Hornstein was an early investor and early believer in this, and he does tendon repairs at the hip at Rothman Institute in Philadelphia. So he understands the physiology and mechanics of what goes on there, and he's a big believer in our new anchor system. So it's good to have orthopedic believers, and we have more and more coming out. So Rush Institute is another alpha site, and that's an orthopedic surgeon there that's going to start putting them in addition to the 15 alpha sites that you see there. Right. Bill Myers is a real thought leader, and he founded Vincere Institute in South Philadelphia, and they take care of all the pro athletes from all the sports that have groin injuries. So groin injuries are adductor tears, and they pull off the bone very much like the gluteus tears that are our first indication. So his interest is really in treating professional athletes using this. And his point is that if he can get them back for even a game or two in the same season, that will be a huge advantage for the teams and a big feather in our cap. If we can treat these pro athletes percutaneously, put them back on the field right away, and even if they last a few games, they're going to get treated definitively after the season. So Bill Myers is excited about that, and he's on our medical advisory board. In addition, we are signing up a lot of people on our advisory board from thought leaders in radiology, also in orthopedic surgery, and also in physiatry, physical medicine and rehabilitation, and pain management. So that'll be built up over the next month or so.
And do you want to expand any on these sites that we have listed? So it's more than just a table here. Talk about just the connection that you have with these sites and that the
Just to be
responses that we've gotten from some of the clinicians there.
And just to be clear, if I can jump in, these 15 alpha sites, they have already committed to using our product the moment it's FDA cleared, correct?
Yes, and not only that, but these centers all agreed to be part of a multi-center study that will constitute the first 100 patients that we do. And these are all high volume sites. All of these sites do a high volume of work on gluteus treatment. There are one or two additional ones that are not on this list, like Oklahoma Spine Institute with Doug Beal, who does a lot of alpha and beta testing on new devices. But we have our core group, which is Jefferson, Vincera, and University of Pennsylvania. And that's going to be our core in Philadelphia area. We also have Pittsburgh. We have a lot of centers in New York, Hospital for Special Surgery, NYU, in Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital, Brigham and Women's, Beth Israel, and then all around the country, Wisconsin, Colorado, Mayo Clinic, and other ones. So we have a lot of very prominent centers that will constitute our multi-center study. Our first 100 patients will be completed in about a month or two after FDA clearance. And at that point, we're going to analyze the data on these patients and see how they're doing, use pain management scales, and also look at the reimbursements using established codes to see what the reimbursement data is like.
So we'll switch gears here and talk about our fundraising progress. So we've raised $1.2 million to date. We brought in 17 investments under safes, totaling $355,000. And then in 2022, we opened a Series A led by Keiretsu Forum Mid-Atlantic. It's $1.5 million. And yeah, we're a little over halfway through it. I'm going to, and this is a diligence-based funding group. So we completed the diligence process. I'm going to let Paul Janeski, who led that process, talk about it. And I'm actually going to post a link to the report in the chat box, or can always follow up with me to access the updated version of it if you need a copy.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So as Adam indicated, it's a $1.5 million Series A on a pre-4.5 million round. So very favorable terms to investors. As Adam indicated, I am a member of Keiretsu Forum, the Southeast Mid-Atlantic group. I led due diligence on behalf of Keiretsu with, I think, an all-star group of members that comprised our team, and we looked literally at everything from intellectual property to every single agreement that was in place, from the market standpoint, even things like key performance indicators for strategic positions within the company. It was an incredible effort, a great team. And as Adam indicated, it is in the a link to the due diligence report. It's 110 pages. So, you might not want to dive into it all on the first day, but there's a lot there, but it's fantastic information. And it just goes into great detail on what's involved here. But I agreed to invest after the due diligence report came out. I'm convinced. I've been in the interventional radiology space for the last 30 plus years. Also done some work in the orthopedic space. I'm an angel investor, do pretty much, I would say 90% of my investments are in the medical device space. And when I saw what Bill and Adam were doing, I was convinced that there was a real opportunity here. There's a large unmet need among these patients, and Adam can talk more about that, and Bill, as we go on a little bit further, but I think there's substantial upside here for everyone.
Thanks, Paul.
Bet.
So yeah, we'll now get into our plans going ahead. And we are really shifting our focus from product design to commercialization. The current objective is getting the Trace Tendon Fastener product FDA cleared. So this involves a sequence of activities that includes preclinical animal testing, lab testing according to safety standards, design verification and validation from the end user perspective. The immediate next step is preparing a request for a 510(k) pre-submission meeting, and then holding the meeting with the FDA examiner. And so we're very fortunate to have some expert guidance as we go through that with one of our advisors, Emily Meyering, who's on the call here. And yeah, Emily, if you wouldn't mind, just give a quick intro, and yeah, you can add some additional detail onto that, if you don't mind.
Sure, thanks, Adam. Hi, my name is Emily Meyering. I've been mostly a non-clinical advisor to Trace Orthopedics for several years now. And in our partnership and working together, we've connected Trace with CSU. As Adam mentioned previously, that's where we did the pilot study. CSU is one of the top sites for non-clinical studies in the United States for orthopedics. So Stryker, Medtronic, Synthes, everyone, Zimmer does all of their studies essentially at this facility. And so they are definitely the leaders in this space. And so we've been working closely with them to, run the pilot study that is completed now. We're incorporating that information into this next pre-submission to close a couple of loose ends and getting a clear path on what we have to do to move forward to 510(k).
Thanks, Emily. So there's lots of activity in our market segment. I have two example acquisition deal comps from the last 12 months here, just to illustrate that. So, and that's part of our plan is to drive to an exit. We're looking to engage strategic partners in deliberate ways. We recently went under an NDA to explore a potential collaboration with a major market player. And we will begin approaching other strategics at the appropriate time, namely following the 510(k) clearance submission. So once we see that clearance is on the horizon, that's really when we want to start building these relationships and outlining partnership potentials. And so the current round of funding, this is the Series A right here, takes Trace to the clearance submission. Then we envision a bridge into the B round with the bridge proceeds covering the expenses associated with the commercial alpha launch. And so we have $1 million envisioned for the bridge that will go into the B round, which is what we are expecting to follow that. And we did a comprehensive exit analysis based on the relevant deal comps, discussions with some trusted information sources in industry. And then we use these assumptions for the follow-on funding round, the general terms that is like 4 million B round at a 10 million pre-money valuation. So then we took the average revenue multiples from the most salient deal comps that we saw, and then we multiplied that by our forecast for trailing 12 months revenue. So we could calculate the exit value targets and the return on investment at these value inflecting milestones really is the way we see them. All right. And so as we focus more on commercialization, clinical adoption, then so we're onboarding additional expertise. And yeah, so according to our term sheet, we must fill out our board with another 2 seats. One will be a Series A participant, one will be independent. So we'll recruit these roles according to descriptions that we've drafted, which outlines the qualifications and capabilities that we're seeking. But ultimately, it's to contribute in guiding the company to an exit. And so on the company management side, I'll continue as CEO operator until we have more resources so that we can add to the C-suite. Once we reach the stage of readiness for scale up, and we don't have any opportunities to exit at that point, then we will recruit a professional CEO that's seasoned, that has a successful track record in launching orthopedic products. Then the plan is for me to, so in the meantime, the plan is for me to continue as CEO and complete the current capital raise, and then start CEO search 6 months prior to opening the Series B financing.
Yeah, and Adam, if I can jump in too, just
yeah, sure.
I just want to be clear with our investors. We have every confidence in the world in Adam. Adam has been a fantastic CEO and is a talented individual and a valued team member. But we all recognize that should we get to the commercialization stage, we're going to need to bring in a seasoned operator. And, you know, it's not an unusual occurrence to see that happen. But Adam, we anticipate Adam remaining a valuable member of the team. And I think it's important just to say that, you know, if you go back and you look at Adam, if you want to just back up the slide for one moment, just
yeah,
the exit analysis, just to be clear, as Adam pointed out, we're going to start engaging. Well, we already started engaging with strategics, but we'll do so in a more meaningful way as we prepare to submit our 510K. Once that happens, we'll start having discussions as we move to our alpha launch. And there are a couple different options. We might see a high value license which could return a fantastic number to our investors that are in this Series A round. But rest assured, as we continue to move, we create more value, and as we do, things look even better for our investors. So we're very comfortable, where we're at. There's a lot more. If you're, for the seasoned investors out there, this is a very direct regulatory path. Reimbursement exists. We're not trying to land a spacecraft on the surface of Mars here. This is a very, very well thought out, very well orchestrated event that we're moving towards, and it's about execution. And I think we've got a phenomenal team that will get us to this point. And as Adam said, then we'll begin the process of looking for a CEO for commercialization.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm not going anywhere. I'll plan to move into the Chief Operating Officer role to ensure smooth transition and maintain our positive momentum. So I'll go back to this slide. So in the meantime, what we're doing is we're beefing up our medical advisory board considerably. And unfortunately, I was gonna have Dr. Kaplan give an intro. He just sent me a text about an hour ago that he has a surgery that's running long. So he said he'll have to make the next investor update, but he's very gung-ho. And so he's down in Jacksonville, but he's also the head team physician for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So when he takes an interest, then we listen, and we're really excited to have him. I'm going to see if Dr. Gelber is on, because he did indicate that he was going to join the meeting. So yeah, John Gelber he's another orthopedic surgeon. He actually is starting a new practice, and he's relocating across the country. He came to us with an interest in using the Trace device specifically for biceps tenodesis. Really the same value proposition that we described before to reduce the time of the surgical procedure. And so, yeah, by using the Trace device, that the belief is that it will shave a number of steps off of that procedure. So the plan is that we're going to bring in all of these advisors. We got some others, and this is just our short list of that we've kind of established mutual interest so far. But yeah, we're going to add some pain management physicians and more on the sports medicine side, and yeah, and they're gonna help us immensely as we make our strategy when it comes to describing the patient populations that we're going to serve, and how they're going to be referred among the physicians that are treating them. All right, so
we've got a bunch of questions in the
Yeah.
chat box. Just want to remind everybody, we will come back to those. So don't think we won't address those. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
All right, so yeah, we're just gonna wrap up with our fundraising plan, and then how we're gonna accomplish our goal. So there's 710,000 remaining in the current fundraise. I had earlier a $60,000 commitment to participate. That's from me, and I will participate in this round. And so our corresponding operating budget during the planned runway, you can see, is 706,000. We also do have some money in the bank. It's not going to cover that. So but these are the critical activities that we need to be able to submit our device to FDA. So we're ready to close the round and focus squarely on the activities associated with commercializing the Trace Tendon Fastener, and so we're ramping up the investment efforts accordingly. We've engaged 10 Capital. That's the group that is hosting us here today. They're an investment facilitator. They are running a campaign for us. Right now, it's active at the moment. They have a whole database of qualified investors as individuals and groups in their network that they are presenting Trace to. We're also screening with a handful of ACA member angel groups, and we are in active diligence with a couple. And then we're working through our network of prospective and existing investors. We're asking for potential referrals as well. And then, so in an effort to accelerate the Series A completion, we're offering 2 added incentives. So this is the first time we're sharing this. Everyone here today essentially gets first dibs on these offers. First, we're bumping up the warrant coverage for tranches 2 and 3. So right now we're in tranche 2. So all tranche 2 investors will get the 30% warrant coverage, and tranche 3 will go up to 20%. So before it was for tranches 1, 2, and 3, 30, 20, 10%. Now it's going to be 30, 30, 20%. Second, we're offering a 50% discount off the strike price for any Trace investor that exercises the warrants by August 31st. The warrants, they have a 5-year maturity. Strike price now is equal to the Series A unit price of $3.75. So this price will be reduced by 50% for those that choose to exercise during this period. Each of these will be implemented by way of a side letter agreement. So we don't have to reconfigure our subscription agreement. And so I talked to our lawyer today, and so he's got the first side letter done. I think it's only like a page. And so he's working on the next one for tomorrow. So yeah, we'll be able to provide these by the end of the week. So yeah, that's the update. And yeah, I guess we can move into the Q&A portion now. All right, so I'm just gonna take these in the order in which they came in. So and Shane, maybe you could also pull up the poll as well.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and run the poll. So if you're in the audience, you're going to see a poll pop up there, and you can answer it how you feel best fit. Do you want me to help you run the questions as well, or do you want to just go ahead and go through them?
So if I just click answer live, then what? That'll just pull up question, or
Yeah, you can just start talking.
okay. So I don't have to click it.
But yeah, you can read the question out loud just
Alright.
for everybody as well, though.
All right, so William Owens says, do you see the tendon or muscle to be fixated adequately under ultrasound or regular X-ray imaging? I would think that a tear seen on MRI might not be well seen on ultrasound. Bill, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. If an interventional radiologist is placing this, they're most likely going to use ultrasound guidance, which is a really good method for this, especially for the hip. If orthopedic surgeon's placing this, I envision them putting a scope in and then placing this percutaneously and basically guiding it in using their arthroscopic visualization. So they'll have the scope there, they'll have direct visualization of the tendon and the tear. They'll place this percutaneously and just watch it go in, and it'll take a few minutes.
Okay, next question. Thanks, Bill. Probably for you as well. Also from William Owens, will you compare your outcomes for partial tear therapy to non-interventional techniques? Don't most partial tears heal adequately with physical therapy and time and rest?
And yes, most partial tears do respond to physical therapy and conventional percutaneous techniques like dry needling, PRP, and things like that. Our patient population, at least initially, is going to be the patient that fails that. So especially with the hip, they're very hard to treat. Surgery is not a great option for a lot of those folks. And we do get a lot of treatment failures and physical therapy failures. So that's going to be our low-hanging fruit. That's going to be our first initial alpha launch patient. As things progress, as you demonstrate efficacy, then you start expanding your population to others. Now we are going to compare our alpha launch, our 100-patient multi-center study is going to be just looking at patient outcomes for this procedure. The next stage really in research is to compare with other techniques. And that takes longer, obviously, to do randomized controlled trial. So our first 100 patients, we're really going to be looking at our initial procedure efficacy and reimbursements.
All right, I'm gonna skip Rick's question about the trial because there's some more that came in from William Owens on the technique itself, and so we'll get back to that one. So another one that he had is, will you recommend our MRI after each intervention to confirm successful placement?
No, you can actually see it being placed under ultrasound guidance really well, and you can monitor it under ultrasound. A lot of people will get MRI just based on ordering patterns. And I envision that if orthopedic surgeons are placing it arthroscopically, they'll just observe it going in. But there's no need to confirm it afterward with MRI.
Great. Another one. Do you envision orthopedic surgeons doing these procedures under ultrasound guidance, or will IR exclusively do these procedures?
Yeah, so interventional radiology and physical medicine rehabilitation pain management people will probably place these under ultrasound guidance. It's what they're usually comfortable with in doing percutaneous procedures on tendons. Surgeons, as I said, will probably place these with arthroscopic visualization.
But there are some surgeons out there that use ultrasound.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Just saw some topics at the sports medicine conference last week.
Yeah, and another option is Trice with the MyEye, which is basically camera on the needle. So you can
Yeah.
place that, kind of insufflate some air in the area, and then place this percutaneously and visualize it going in without a scope.
So the last question along those lines is there a failure of adequate repair by this technique, or sorry, if there is a failure, and the open repair becomes necessary, will the open procedure be made more difficult due to scarring the tear site?
No, it shouldn't be. We're not, I think, a lot of scarring to form, as Emily suggested. If it fails, we're not really burning bridges here. And patients can go and get the surgery if they still need it afterward. But we're hoping that a significant proportion of these patients can obviate surgery after our procedure.
Okay, and then back to Rick's question. Will you be randomizing patients to the current standard of care versus Trace in your clinical trial? Now, I don't think we've talked about that. Bill, do you want to?
Yeah, that's going to be the second phase. So our
Yeah.
first 100 patients is going to be just testing to see, do patients get better? Do they get less pain? Do they get functional restoration and things like that? So that's going to be, questionnaires and physical exam before and after, and
Pain score, that
follow-up.
index, is that like to measure?
I'm sorry?
Oh, and to use the pain score index to.
Yeah, there's various pain score indices and functionality indices that we're going to apply before and after the procedure and on follow-ups. Now, the randomized clinical trials take longer. They're a lot more involved. And so, in our setting, when we want to go into clinical care, we will do that as time goes on. They're very hard to perform in this scenario because a lot of these patients that don't get better from the physical therapy and needle-based procedures, they want something else done. It's very hard to randomize them into doing nothing or to doing standard of care because they've already kind of failed that. So that's kind of why we need to do this initial study of 100 patients first, demonstrate efficacy, at least improvement in pain and functionality, and then we can go on and do a randomized clinical trial. We're also applying for grants that we might want to talk about with University of Pennsylvania that might help with that as well.
It also seems like it might be difficult to recruit patients that are getting partial tear repair.
Well, yes, we can.
I mean, like as comparison.
We can do that. It's just that I've had a lot of experience with trying to perform randomized clinical trials for things like PRP, platelet-rich plasminogen, and things like that. And a lot of these patients, they don't want to be randomized because they want the procedure.
Right.
So these trials get to be relatively challenging and sometimes take a while. So we're not going to hold ourselves back by waiting for that data to come back.
And then we did get a question in the chat box, I think from David Owens, just the targeted closing date. So yeah, so we said that we're going to offer the warrant discount through August 31st. And so the target closing date is going to be September 30th. I think just realistically, that's when that'll allow the month of September as well. Some of the investor groups that we're in discussion with, that they're on a little bit of a hiatus this summer, so it'll allow us to re-engage them if we need to. But yeah, we're hustling to close this out as soon as possible.
Yeah, for sure, Adam. And again, just to reiterate, the incentives here are strictly that. The whole goal is let's get this round wrapped up and focus on all the things that we need to do to get prepped and ready for the FDA submission. Valuation's going to go up substantially after that point. And we think we may open the window for acquisition as well. So, take a look. For those of you who are already investors, I'm considering coming in for more myself, as well as I know some of the other folks who are involved with Trace, based on the positive results we've seen from that CSU study and everything else that's going on. So we'd welcome you guys to be a part of this, and don't miss out.
All right, well, thanks, Paul. If anybody else has any follow-up questions or wants to have a direct conversation with any of us, we are happy to oblige. So let's see. Oh, okay, wait. I see another question from David Owens. Whom is advising on regulatory strategy? So we have a consulting firm that Emily has worked with extensively. They are named Avio, AVIO. And so they are, we're working with that group. They are very capital efficient. And then we're also, we're going to consider bringing in another group that is a larger, more established firm, MCRA. They're very high priced, so we're going to bring them in to do essentially a final review of our pre-submission request before it goes in, to make sure that there's no missing parts or any gaps, or just to get another set of experienced eyes on it. And then can you describe our current board composition? So yeah, it's the three of us right now. So Paul, Bill, and I are the board. Trace.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Adam said, there is a second Series A board member that we're obligated to bring on, that will be an investor from that investor pool, those who have interest in coming on the board. And then we'll also be adding an independent fifth member of the board at that point as well. Assuming I have that correct.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Very good. Emily, did you have anything to add on the regulatory folks that you've worked with them? AVO, any insights to share, since they come highly recommended from your end?
Sure. So I've worked with AVO with several current companies. Actually almost every company that I've been working with right now. So they hire very specific skill sets. So if they have regulatory quality people who have just done orthopedics, or who have just done combination products, or just done drugs. And so they really have specific expertise for startups. That's really their market, is people who just need resources intermittently and for specific projects, instead of having to pay monthly retainers, things like that. That's how the firm works. I've been very impressed with what they've done on some of my very complex projects recently. So that's why I recommended them to Trace, and I think the team is working really well together.
That's great. Thanks, Emily. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, they also have access to a really great regulatory attorney system for legal review of any submissions as well. That's kind of tied in. So they have different tiers of what kind of skill sets we need. I know Adam's talking about bringing another firm that does that as well.
Yep. Oh, okay. Thanks, Emily.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And yeah, if there's no other questions, we can conclude here.
Great.
And
Thanks,
by
Adam.
the way, this is being recorded. So Shane, are you gonna send this out to everybody who attended? How is that going to work? Just so that those who are here, because I've gotten a couple texts from some friends that had to drop off that would like to get access to this.
Yeah, great question. So for anybody in the audience, we will be following up with you. I ran the poll, so I do have your response to that, and we will follow up accordingly. Anybody who didn't get a chance to answer the poll will be following up with as well. Also, I did speak with a few people who we invited who weren't able to make it, and they asked specifically for all the updates and the recording, so they'll be getting the video as well. So yeah, we'll close it up on all ends there, and make sure everybody gets what they need out of it. But if there are no other questions, looks like we're about at the end of our session here. But anybody who does have questions in the audience, please feel free to send them to me. I will be following up, like I said, and I'll make sure we get those answered. But yeah, if that's all, then I think we can close it out there. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and especially Adam, Emily, Bill, Paul. You guys are great to have on, so appreciate it there, and we'll look forward to the next one. But thank you guys, and we'll close it out there.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks, Bill, Emily, Paul, and everybody for joining and for all of your support along the way. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, well, we'll see you guys next time.